be looking at IELTS. We're going to be looking at IELTS speaking. This to me is the easiest part of IELTS. IELTS speaking is the easiest part of IELTS. Therefore, you should be able to get band 9 in these parts without any stress or struggle. Without any stress or struggle. IELTS speaking is not just the easiest, it is the shortest. It lasts for about 12 to 15 minutes. Okay? It lasts for about 12 to 15 minutes. So you go into the exam hall. The examiner will ask you questions about yourself, questions about different things. And within 12 to 15 minutes, you are done. And you can go and enjoy your plate of jollof rice and chicken at home. All right, so what we're going to be looking at tonight is how do we deal with IELTS speaking? I'm going to be doing some practices together. Very soon, I'm going to call for some volunteers. Okay? Well, let me first lay a foundation for what we are going to be discussing. Let us lay a foundation first, and then we take it up from there. So, ladies and gentlemen, what happens during IELTS speaking? IELTS speaking basically involves talking with an examiner. Okay? You are talking with an examiner about yourself, about your views, about your opinions, answering questions. The examiner will ask you different questions about different issues. And your job is to what? Is to answer. Your job is to give responses. So the speaking part of the exam has 3 parts. Okay? Part 1, or we can also call it task 1. Then we have part 2, and then we have part 3. For the part 1, the examiner will ask you general questions about yourself, questions about what you do, questions about where you live, questions about your hobbies, questions about your country, questions about where you studied, where you did your bachelor's degree, where you did your primary school, where you did your secondary school education. General questions about yourself, things in the past. Sometimes they'll ask you things about your future, your plans for the future. All right. So that's what you say in part 1. So the idea is that the examiner asks you questions, you answer. He asks you questions, you answer. He asks you questions, you answer. Like that. That's the idea of this speaking exam. Okay? So we have part 1. That one will run for about 6 to 8 minutes. Then we have part 2. This part 2 is going to run for 2 minutes. You are going to talk for 2 minutes. Do you understand? That's going to be well, let's not say very long. It's relatively longer. Your response in this task 2 is going to be longer than your response to each of the questions in task 1 or task 3. So there's no question they will ask you in task 1 that will require you to talk for 2 minutes. Within 30 to 40 seconds, you should be done. Same thing with task 3. But for part 2, the examiner will just be quiet for 2 minutes. That's 120 seconds. And you'll be talking. You'll be talking. All right. Someone says, what will I be talking about? The examiner will give you a piece of paper that will contain what to talk about. We'll call it the cue card. Okay. So they will give you the paper or the card and they will give you 1 minute to prepare. So you will have 1 minute to study what is on that paper. Okay. You will have 1 minute to study what is on that paper. And after 1 minute, the examiner will ask you to what? To talk based on what you have seen on the paper. That's part 2. And then the final part is part 3. Under part 3, you are going to be asked questions based on some of the things that you discussed in part 2. So let's assume that maybe part 2 was about you talking about your favorite movie. Maybe the part 2 question was talk about your favorite movie. Part 3 question will most likely have to do with what? Movies. Movies in your country, local and international movies. Should children watch movies? What impact does movies have on our economy? I mean, part 3 questions are usually connected to something that you discussed in part 2. So part 1 lasts for about 6 to 7 minutes. Part 2 lasts for, let's say, 3 minutes. You have 1 minute to prepare and 2 minutes to talk. That's what makes it 3 minutes. That's so 6 plus 3, that's 9. Then part 3, you are going to get some general questions for about 4 to 5 minutes. So this whole speaking part of the test should not last for more than what? 15 minutes. Okay? Now, how will they assess your speaking ability? Your speaking ability will be assessed based on your response. And the first thing that they will use to assess your speaking is what we call fluency and cohesion, or fluency and what? Coherence. Fluency and what? Coherence. So what does fluency and coherence mean? It basically means that you should talk at length. You should what? You should talk at length. Any question the examiners ask you, you should give well-developed responses. You should give detailed responses. Don't give short answers. Don't give one-word answers. Give detailed answers. Okay? You are going to see when we treat some examples later on. Fluency and coherence also have to do with the relevance of your answer to the question. So the response that you give must be connected to the question they asked you. If they asked you, do you love your job? Okay, the examiner asks you and says, do you love your job? And you tell them, yes, I've always dreamt of being a doctor. When I was in secondary school, I had a biology teacher that made me love biology so much. He was very creative in teaching us biology, and the way he talked about different professions made me to decide that I was going to become a doctor. Do you know that what I just said now does not answer the question, do you love your job? That's lack of coherence. Lack of coherence. If you do that kind of thing on the exam day, they're going to label it as what? As you not having a good understanding of vocabulary. They will label it as you not having a good understanding of the question. You misinterpreted the question. And that's one of the reasons for low scores in IELTS. People sometimes get low scores because they misinterpret questions. This issue of misinterpretation can happen in IELTS speaking, it can happen in IELTS reading, it can happen in IELTS writing, it can happen in IELTS what? Listening. So make sure you understand the question and address exactly what they are asking you to address. Somebody says, how will I understand the question and make sure that I don't misinterpret? Study closely, think about it. If it's IELTS speaking, think about every word and reason it out. You understand? The questions are not really complicated. So understanding the question should not be a difficulty. The questions are framed in basic common English. Okay? And then they will have to do with things that you are actually going to be familiar with. They're not going to be asking you things that you are not familiar with. That one is guaranteed. So fluency and what? Coherence. That's criterion number 1. It accounts for 25% of your total score in IELTS speaking. The second criterion is what we'll call what? Grammar. Okay? Grammar. Grammar has to do with the accuracy of your sentences. Your sentences must align with the conventions of English. Standard conventions and rules of English grammar must be obeyed when you are saying whatever it is you want to say in response to the examiner's questions. Some questions will require you to use past tense. Always ensure that you use past tense in those questions. Some questions will require you to use present tense. Always ensure that you use present tense in giving responses to those questions. And some will have to do with what? Future tense. So your tenses must be accurate. Singular and plural words must be used correctly. Your subject must be in agreement with the verb. So many things about grammar. We talked about grammar in detail when we were doing, what's it called? We talked about grammar when we were doing IELTS writing. You understand? So grammar is something that will affect your writing score as well as your speaking score. So you must really, really get a good hold of grammar. Very, very important. Very, very important. Number 3 criterion is vocabulary. Vocabulary is about using the appropriate words to express yourself, number 1. Number two, vocabulary is about using variety of words to express yourself. You need to learn to use paraphrases and synonyms to respond to what the examiner is saying. Don't use a particular word or phrase excessively and repetitively. No, vary your words. Look for other words that you can use that have the same meaning as that word that you are thinking of. Coach Tayo, what if I don't know any word to use? Well, this is what I'm going to tell you. Your job is to make sure you know. This is preparation time. And that's why we are telling you that vocabulary is important. So your job is to make sure that you know. So the issue of what if I don't know the words to, what if I don't know another word to use? That question should not come up. The question that should be coming up is how do I build up my vocabulary so that I can know the words to use? Aha! Now that is a very good question. And the answer to that question is that you should expose yourself to lots of IELTS speaking questions. When you expose yourself ahead of the exam, you do this before the exam day. Okay, this thing I'm telling you now is something that you get yourself into before the exam day. You take time to study the compilation of past questions, of speaking questions. Okay, as you study them, you get to see different questions and then you get to come up with ideas of what to say, how to say whatever it is you want to say, different ways to say that thing that you want to say. So building up your vocabulary ahead of IELTS speaking, ahead of your exam day, is something that has to do with what? That has to do with practice. Practicing with what? With questions, with past questions, with model questions. And there's a book that circulates around that helps with this particular issue of practice. It's called the Marker Book. Marker Book. I have a copy here. Look at what it looks. This is what it should look like. Marker Book of Speaking Guesswork. So basically, what we have in this book is that we are going to see lots of IELTS speaking questions, lots of them. Some of these questions actually show up on the exam day. Some of them. Somebody asked me one time that do they repeat questions in IELTS? I said the only part that they are very, very, very likely, 99% chance that they will repeat questions. The only part where there's a very high chance of repeating questions is IELTS speaking. IELTS speaking, yes. That one, they will always repeat questions in that one. You understand? The issue is just that the questions available, the question bank circulating online is so huge. Like this marker book now, 327 pages. How will you know the one that they will repeat? There's no way you will know. There's no way you will know. You understand? But I can assure you that if 10 people go for exam on a particular day, 9 of them will tell you that they picked the question from this book. 9 of them will tell you that. That's how much they repeat questions when it comes to IELTS speaking. You understand? IELTS writing, sometimes they repeat questions, but not often. Sometimes. Sometimes they will repeat questions. Sometimes they will adjust the categories on a bar chart or a line graph or something. But then you're going to see that it looks like something that I've seen before. So it happens sometimes in IELTS writing. Okay? IELTS reading and IELTS listening, those ones, they rarely repeat questions in those ones. Rarely. Rarely. You get it? But whatever the case, well, our job is not to be looking for old questions and be hoping that those questions will show up again on the exam day. No, your job is to use old questions to practice so that you can improve your word, so that you can improve your ability to answer questions during the exam, during the real exam. Okay, so number 3 criterion is called what? Vocabulary. Somebody say vocabulary. Assuming I'm in a physical class now, I will just say, somebody say vocabulary. So I will be sure that you guys are following me. Let me know if you are following me. I want you to type vocabulary in the Zoom chat. Let me be sure you guys are with me. Just type in the Zoom chat and say vocabulary. Let me know who is with me. Vocabulary. That's criterion number 3. All right. Thank you very much. I like that. Thank you for that feedback. Thank you very much. So please prepare. We're going to do practice very soon. If you want me to interview, I want to interview as many people as possible tonight before I go out for another class. So Please let me know. Volunteer yourself. Oh, I'm going to interview you. I will make corrections so that you can get better. You can see what your areas of weaknesses and you can get better. So criterion number 4 is called pronunciation. Pronunciation. What is pronunciation? Pronunciation basically is about how you say those words, how you speak your words, the words that you are trying to say, the words that you are trying to mention. So the examiner asks you a question and you want to respond. In responding, your words must be pronounced clearly. You must talk clearly. You understand? You must pronounce your plural words clearly so that the examiners will hear that, yes, you have pronounced the plural version of that word. If you are pronouncing a past tense word, for example, she cooked. You see that ed, it came out. The ed of the past tense word must be distinguishable. In other words, I must hear that ed clearly. Pronunciation, that's part of pronunciation. So pronunciation must be clear, your words must be accurately pronounced, and you should not give any kind of word confusing pronunciation whenever you are talking in response to any question. So these 4 criteria are the things that will be used to assess your speaking. And the key to improving in these 4 areas is what? Is practice. Okay? Consistent what? Regular practice. And that takes me to the last slide. To succeed in IELTS speaking, you need to get a partner to practice with. Okay? Get a partner to do what? To practice with. So if you are taking your exam very soon, anytime soon, maybe 3 weeks from now, or 4 weeks from now, or 5 weeks from now, it's good for you to get somebody who is also taking the exam 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 5 weeks from now. And then the two of you can be practicing speaking, maybe once every other day, or maybe twice a week or something. You understand? You carry the marker book and then you ask the person questions based on what you are seeing in the marker book. And then you give some feedback. The person too will ask you some questions and give you some feedback. That will help you to improve. You understand? So get a partner to practice with. And then number 2, go through recent speaking questions. So you practice based on the recent speaking questions. This marker book is what I'm referring to as the recent speaking question. If you need it, just let me know. I'm going to send you a copy of the book, or I'll probably just download it. I'll just post it in the WhatsApp group so that you can see it and download and begin to practice with it. You can also record yourself. So apart from, or let's say in addition to having a partner, you can also record yourself with your phone and then listen to the recording, maybe after some days, and critique your answers. Critically analyze your answers and ask yourself, okay, what could I have done to give a better response? How could I have said this? Is there any grammar error in this thing? Is there any vocabulary mistake? You understand? You critique what you have done. You record yourself in the voice note, maybe on a Monday and then maybe on Thursday or Friday. You listen to those voice notes with the ear of a strict examiner and you critique yourself. Hope you get the gist. So that's how to improve. Okay. Now let's go into the marker book now. I will just show you some examples of questions. So this is an example of a part 2 question. So what you will see in this book is that you are going to see questions and you will see answers that they've prepared. All right. The idea is not for you to cram the answer. No, that's not going to help you. Cramming answer from the marker book is counterproductive. No, don't cram answers. Rather, what you do is that word, after seeing a question, cover the answer. Don't look at the answers. All right. After seeing a question, take time to think. For example, you see this part 2 question now. You take some time to think about it and prepare for what you will say. Ask yourself, what would I say in this kind of situation? What would I say? This question on the screen here says that word. Describe an interesting traditional story. Describe a word. Describe an interesting traditional story. You should say what the story is about, when and how you knew it, who told you the story, and explain how you felt when you first heard it. Okay? So they give you this kind of question now on the exam day. They will give you 1 minute to prepare for that, to prepare your response. And then after 1 minute, they will ask you to start talking. Okay? As I'm looking at it now, I'm already thinking of one story. I'm thinking of some of the stories that our grandmothers used to tell us when we were younger, or maybe our senior ones, our senior sisters and our uncles and aunties used to tell us just to keep our attention whenever we were playing at night. In those days when we were small, they would tell us stories of animals. They would tell us stories of some footballers, some traditional stories, common stories. Okay? The stories of animals, those ones are more common and more traditional. Stories designed to teach children morals. Okay, so I'm thinking about one of those stories now, and I'll just say I'm just thinking that okay, I'll just say that kind of story if I were to get this kind of question on the exam day. Okay, so describe that story, and you see all these 4 bullets must be addressed. All the points in these 4 bullets must be what? Must be addressed when answering the question. Hope you get my gist. So if they say describe the story, describe an interesting traditional story. So if I want to respond to this now, let me set my alarm. I want to demonstrate, this. Um, Let me set my alarm for 2 minutes. All right. Thank you very much, sir. So you want me to talk about an interesting traditional story. Right now, I'm thinking of a particular story my uncle, or I would say is my eldest uncle. So my dad happens to be the third child of our grandmother, and he has this elderly brother who is the eldest uncle, and all of us, we admire him a lot because he has a very beautiful storytelling skill. So he told us a story about the cats and rats, and he was trying to explain to us why cats always chase after rats and mice to kill them and to hit them. So he told us, I think he must have told us that story about 3 or 4 times because I can remember that. I mean, I can clearly remember he told us what I want very, very well. So what happened is that, just to quickly summarize the story, he told us that there was a time that all the animals came before God, and God asked all of them to make a special request. And it so happened that the rat asked God for the ability to be able to hide from the cat anytime he wants to eat from the food of human beings. And then the cat was wondering what's going on. Why would you want to be eating the food of my master without their permission? And that made the cat very, very angry. And ever since that day, I just summarized the story because it made it long. Usually it took whenever he told us that story, then it would take about 10 to 15 minutes to finish up the story. And then he would start telling us some other things. So you see, the alarm is already ringing. I've spent so much time talking about the story itself. But then I did not cover some things. I talked about what the story is about. I talked about when and how I knew it. I talked about who told me the story. This last part, explain how you felt when you first heard it. Well, I didn't really touch this so much. Again, but then I think you get the gist that what we are to deal with what they are asking us. Focus on what? Focus on what the examiner is asking you. Do you get my point now? So traditional story. Okay. All right. So let's see who wants to try that. Traditional story. Who wants to try and describe an interesting traditional story? Let's do exercise for that. Let me unmute somebody. Let me unmute Amicable. Amicable. I will volunteer you to give us your response to this question. Amicable. After amicable, I'm going to call um Dorothy. Madam Dorothy, I hope you are there. Oh. Madam Dorothy, you give us your response to this question. Okay, amicable, are you ready?
Yes. Good
Oh,
evening, sir.
good evening. You're welcome. You're welcome. So, shall I start my alarm? 2 minutes.
Okay.
All right, I'm listening. Go ahead.
During my salad day, I came across a lot of stories ranging from animals and their kingdoms. But however, I would love to talk about the one that stood out for me, a story of the um, tortoise and the chicken, and why they are using fowl to do sacrifice up to pay my grandmother a visit in our own village during December 2015. So during after eating, our grandmother gathered all the grandchildren and started telling the story of how why for sacrifice. They said they had a meeting. All the animals came together to discuss on what they'll be using to make sacrifice. And as they were waiting at the end of the meeting, and they concluded that Alpha will be using doing sacrifice since he's not around to say his own mind. And I felt over the moon because it's, it's my time of
No, no, go ahead.
I heard a sound.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I get to know the story through my grandmother during our after eating, all the children gathered during the bedtime to tell us story because in a call we have a in our house before we go to bed. Our grandmother will tell us one story or the other before all of us will go back to sleep. That far was available on that. He will even speak for himself, use sacrifice, and even up to today, foul use. And in future, I will also advise people when such gathering or such meetings are being called on that they should endeavor to attend because nobody knows who will be used as the scapegoats.
Okay, thank you very much. That's a nice story. That's a good one. You did well. So I'll just point out one correction. You said, I can't remember the entire sentence. I can't remember the entire sentence anyway. But you said something that you now said, but however, something now happened. So you can't use but and however in the same sentence. You understand? So it's either you say but or you say however. So for example, somebody can say, the cat was um the cat was asked to return the milk, but however, it refused. No, you don't need to say but however. Just pick one. However, it refused. Or you say but it refused. So don't use but and however together. Some people also use although and but in the same sentence. That's wrong. It's either you use although or you use but. Pick one of the two. So it's not a common thing to use two conjunctions in the same sentence. It's not a common thing. It's not usually done in English writing and English speaking. Hope you get my point, amicable. All right. So let's do let me see. Let me take one more person. Madam Dorothy, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. You're welcome, ma'am. So
Thank you, sir.
let us hear your own story. I want you to describe an interesting traditional story. I'll give you 2 minutes.
Hmm,
Your time starts now.
hmm, hmm. Okay. The story I want to talk about is story about elephant and the tortoise. The story is telling us that elephant is too energetic more than any other animals. Then once of it started like this. The elephant showing all the animals that is too energetic, and tortoise wanted to show them that he is he has he's wise enough. So one day they were all the animals gathered together, and they wanted someone to be that's they wanted somebody um to collect elephants to their domain. So then tortoise now said that he's the one that is going to take elephants using his wisdom. So one day, tortoise went to the elephant and asked elephant that he's going to
Ah,
uh,
we have spent
going
90% of the time
to
on the story. Oh. You should tell us who,
what a good
and explain
storyteller,
us the
please.
story.
So
You understand my point.
okay.
You have 2 minutes, so we are still on what is
Sorry.
the story about.
So this story was, I'm telling the story now.
We have
Is
moved
it
to
not the
another
stories I should
move to another
talk
question.
about?
When, who, and explain
Or
us.
am I going to use these points? I don't know. You say I should tell it.
Yes, you will use this point as your guide. Do you understand?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Hello, sir.
Can you hear me?
I can't hear.
You can't hear me? Eh?
Sir, your voice is cutting.
Oh, maybe it's network. So,
Am I going to use the points?
yes, 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 yes.
I can't hear you. Your voice is breaking.
My voice is
Okay, I
breaking.
can hear you better.
You can hear me now. So you have to use the points. What is the story about? Just summarize. Number two, when did you know about the story? How did you know about the story? You tell us who is it? Who told you that story? Is it your uncle or your aunt or who? You understand? What's it called? Question. That's very don't spend too much time on one question. Ensure that you cover everything. Okay? Make sure that you try and cover everything. If you have that in mind, even if at the end of the day you are not able to cover everything, you will notice that you'll have covered majority, 3 out of 4 at least, minimum. Hope you get my point now. So because that is, I mean, that's one of the ways to demonstrate fluency. Okay? Let's look at another one. Let me go to another question. We're going to focus more on part 2 today. So let me say, let's look at this one now. So let's pick somebody to do this one. Okay. So who's going to volunteer? Or should I pick somebody? Who is going to volunteer or should I pick somebody? Greatness. Let's unmute greatness. Greatness, I want you to answer this question. Greatness. Then after greatness, Ogechuku, you should also prepare. So after greatness, Ogechuku will talk. Greatness, are you ready?
Please give me a few seconds. Let me just check the question. Describe a time when someone
All right.
apologized to you. Okay.
I'll give you 60 seconds to prepare. So take your time. I'll give you 60 seconds to prepare. All right. Are you ready now, greatness?
Yes.
Okay. So the floor is yours. You have 2 minutes. Your time starts now.
Okay. Okay. I remember it was last week, Thursday, when my son Greatness came back late from school, because I usually ask him to come early immediately the school closes. So I noticed he usually come an hour after other schoolmates already arrived home. So, and I've been warning him initially that I don't like him coming late home. So last week Thursday he arrived so late and I was very angry at him. So later on, when I asked him, why did you come late, and was giving me excuses, I followed my friends to the shop. I had to escort them to do things. I was like, no, that wasn't a genuine excuse to me. So, I was so angry, and then I ended up to scold him. So later on, he apologized to me, but then I told him it wasn't about the apology, but did he realize what he did wrong? And then he told me, yes, mommy, because you initially told me I must come home early from school. Then I let him know, don't let that repeat itself. Then he said, okay. So the apology was actually accepted. I let him realize that I'm teaching you to be a responsible person in the future and also to be a good example to your younger brother. And I was so happy that he was able to recognize what I was teaching him to be a better person in the future. Thank you.
That's a good one. That's a good one. You covered everything in about less than 2 minutes because you still have about 5 minutes more. So that's a good one. That's a good one. Good job. Good job. So describe a time when someone apologized. So the only issue I'm going to bring up is the way you started. Okay. So the way you start your response is very, very important. It's like that your start gives you the opportunity to connect whatever the examiner has said to what you are about to say. Okay. So the examiner will give you the question, the piece of paper or the card,
Okay.
and then he will expect you to, it will tell you that, okay, I'll give you 1 minute to prepare. After 1 minute, I'll ask you to start talking. So the alarm will ring and then it's going to tell you, all right, greatness, you can start now. So the first thing you want to do is you say something to appreciate. Thank you, sir, or thank you, ma'am. And then you tell them what you want to do. Okay, so you tell them, okay, I want to talk about a time
Okay.
when someone apologized to me, and that is my son. Do you get
Okay.
it? So that helps us to connect what the examiner said that, okay, you can start with what you are about to do. All right. So your start is
Okay.
very, very important. It has to be qualitative. All right. Okay, let's take Oge. I
All
think I
right.
said Ogechukwu, right? Yeah. Um Ogechukwu, you can unmute yourself. Let's hear your own response.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll describe a time when someone apologized to me. So I would say it's about a month ago. Yes, and that was a friend of mine. So what happened was that I was scheduled to visit her. I was scheduled to just go for attend an exam outside town. She offered initially accommodate me. So I wasn't worried about my accommodation. So just 48 hours to the time I was meant to leave for the exam, I got a message from her that, oh, sorry, I couldn't um, stay again at her place, and that really upset me because initially I didn't factor the accommodation expenses into my travel. And then just about the time I needed to do something very crucial, she disappointed me because she had some family issues she had to deal with and she wasn't going to be around. So it destabilized me a bit. Had to make last arrangements to be able to, get to have somewhere I was going to camp overnight and then have to write my exams. So it had disappointing me. And then when she did apologize, I also understood, even though I had to make change of plans at last minute, and it had to cost me a lot. But that apology, I mean, she wanted to maintain our friendship, and she didn't just block me out. So that's it.
Okay. All right. That's a good one. So when it was, you addressed that, you told us when, who this person is. So you told us who the person is. Sometimes I always advise that people mention the person's name, even if it's a fictitious name. It always adds a sense of it adds some more humanity and personality to the response. There are different questions you will come across in IELTS speaking. We have some questions that have to do with talking about a thing. Sometimes they will ask you to talk about a place. Sometimes they will ask you to talk about a person. Like this case now, they're asking you to talk about a person. So anytime you get a person question, it's always good to mention the person's name. You understand? It helps the listener to connect better with what you are saying. So who this person is, why he or she apologized to you. So from what you said, I noticed that you spend too much time talking about the experience, the fact that you wanted to do exam and then you were supposed to be there and then 48 hours to the event. So you spent a lot of time describing this number three or addressing this number three. Okay, and then how you felt about it. This part now, I didn't really, I can't remember whether I had any word about how you felt. Did you use any? Did you tell us how you felt about it, Ogechukwu? I'm not sure. I'm not sure you did. So you must also address that the issue of feeling. So I felt disappointed. So I guess that's most likely what you felt. I felt disappointed, and at a point I don't know whether to say I was angry because it meant that I would have to spend a whole lot more than I initially planned to spend. But it's okay, I understand. Family issues sometimes can be unpredictable. So I had to find my way around my accommodation issues and things got sorted out. So how you felt, is a very, very important question. This feeling question is a question that you're going to see show up a lot in IELTS speaking. How you felt. Let me show you. Let me show you. Look at number 8. Look at question number 8 in this book. That one that we saw now is question number 9. Look at number 8. A book that you read that you found useful. Explain how you felt about it. Can you see what it is when you read it, why you think it's useful, and explain how you felt. Can you see how you felt? It's a question that usually shows up. You see it a lot. Look at it. Describe the first time you talked in a foreign language. Okay? Where you were, who you were with, what you talked about, and explain how you felt. Can you see that? How you felt. Let me show you another one. So this one does not say how you felt. This one says, explain why you think it was important to tell your friend the truth. So sometimes they would say, sometimes the question will be about talking about your feeling. Sometimes it's going to require you to um, talk about, explain a reason for something. Look at this one now. This one is about how you felt. Explain how you felt about the experience. Describe a time when you saw something in the sky, what you saw. where you saw it, how long you saw it, and explain how you felt. How you felt. So when we say how you felt, there are different feelings that different experiences or different individuals can evoke in us as human beings. Sometimes some experiences or individuals can evoke feelings of sadness. Some experiences can evoke feelings of delight. Some experiences can evoke feelings of anger or fury. Angry, you get angry at something. So maybe, let's say, maybe there's a question that has to do with you talking about when somebody misbehaved, and then you want to talk about your children or maybe your students in school. Most likely, you're going to talk about feelings of anger. Okay? Then some experiences evoke feelings of fear. Fear. Some people now, if they see cockroach now, they get afraid. Some people, they don't get afraid until they see snake. And some people, whether they see snake or cockroach, nothing, they don't get afraid. They don't get afraid. So some experiences evoke feelings of fear. Some experiences evoke feelings of gladness, joy, happiness, ecstasy. Okay, all of them can come under the umbrella of what? Under the umbrella of gladness and joy. So, feeling questions, very, very important. They must be addressed adequately. Okay, let's do one more before we round up. Let me take, let me look for another question. And then we'll take two people will handle this next question. Let me look for something that is less common. They must have prepared this kind of question for Nigerians. A time when electricity suddenly went off. Okay, let me look for another question. All right, let's take this one. Let's take this one. Let's see who has not spoken today. Who has not spoken today? Amicable Ayomipo. Ayomipo, are you there? Esther Oluwaseun. Okay, let's take Esther and Ayomipo. Esther, um, unmute yourself, Esther. Esther Oluwaseun, you can unmute yourself.
Good evening, sir.
Okay, you're welcome. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm fine.
All right, so you have 1 minute to prepare. After 1 minute, I'll ask you to start talking.
Okay.
All right, time up. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so you have 2 minutes for your speech. Your time starts now.
Okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you, sir. I've made several decisions in my life, but there was a particular one that was very important to me, which was my relocation to Lagos. I had to make this decision because I was actually tired of where I was staying at that particular time. I needed to mix with other people from different backgrounds, which I actually did. it was actually my brother that stays in Ibadan that assisted me in making this decision. I had, as at that time, I had a lot of options. Is either I stayed back at Ibadan or I had to relocate to Lagos. But with his help, I had to move to Lagos. I actually felt good at first when I got to Lagos because I met with a lot of people from different background, which was my primary goal. But later on, I was remorseful because Lagos is quite expensive. As at now, I had to I had to cope with it and bear these circumstances around my relocation decision to Lagos State.
Okay, is that all?
Thank you.
Okay. So, that's a good one. You covered everything in less than 2 minutes. You had about um 15 seconds to the end. So 15 seconds more before you stopped. Now, you towards the end, you said you used a particular word that I feel should not have been used. You said I will, but later on I was remorseful. Remorseful. So remorse is not actually the word to use. So initially you were happy about the opportunity to relocate to Lagos. You enjoyed yourself initially, but after spending a lot of money on transport,
Okay.
you started feeling sad. You started feeling, the correct word is regret, not remorse. Remorse is what you feel when you do something bad and somebody corrects or criticizes you for that thing. You understand now? But regret is when you do something
All
and you
right.
start feeling bad that, why did I do this thing? I should not have done this thing. You understand? Maybe you're expecting that the thing will turn out well and it's going to be rosy all through, there'll be no issues. But then issues start popping up and then you're like, no, 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 I didn't plan for this. I didn't bargain for this. No. And then, so we call that regret. I started having feelings of regret about my decision to come to Lagos, mainly because of the high cost of living in the States. So I would have loved to hear more detail about that. Okay. So when it comes to filling question, let me give you illustration of what I'm trying to say. When it comes to filling questions, it's good to use one or two words to conceptualize the feeling. Like in this case now, I felt a sense of regret about after I felt regretful about moving to Lagos after some time. And it was mainly because of two things. Number one, the high cost of living in the state, and then number two, the traffic problem of the state. Compared to Ibadan, Lagos is way more expensive. Usually we buy, for example, we buy a loaf of bread for maybe 1,000 naira in Ibadan. But in Lagos, you can't get a decent loaf for less than 2,500. You understand? So I'm trying to compare so as to give the examiner the reason for my feeling. So that question that says, say how you felt, don't just tell us I felt XYZ. Give us a story or give us something to illustrate the cause of that feeling, or tell us something that you did because of what you felt. That will also further help you to what? To expand on that question of what? Feeling. That feeling question. You understand? So it's not just about mentioning, I felt XYZ. No. Tell us why you felt that way. Tell us what, or either you tell us why you felt that way, or you tell us two or three things that you did because of that feeling. Hope you get my point, Esther.
Yes, I do, sir.
All right. So don't worry, we'll do another practice another time. Let me do one more person. Let's take one more person. Who else? Ayomikpo. Are you available? Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I want you to talk. I want you to give a response to this question. You have 2 minutes.
Okay.
Your time starts now.
Thank you very much, sir. To inspire important decision made in the years of another happiness. The decision was about organizing a birthday party for my mother's yet 55th.
I'm not hearing you again, no, Hayo.
Sir, talk about what had what about now, sir?
Hello?
Can
You no go.
you hear now?
Okay, I think I'm hearing a little bit now.
What about now?
All right, it's better now. Go ahead.
So can I continue?
All right, better. It's better now.
Hello, sir.
Go ahead. I'm listening to you. Go ahead.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Well, so decision with the other. The decision was a made the decision because God before few making of decision will actually make and to reach that level of fulfillment that at least at she actually someone loves her and being able to look back and also create memories with family and bonds with everybody. So with family, friends, and neighbors, she secretly get some numbers on her phone, call some neighbors about how they could help me organize a particular band that will birthday and to get someone that could actually make a cake because then I actually do not have much with me. In, so, but with the help of families and friends, their ideas and them to for the and far to see this
Oh, your voice is breaking. I'm not hearing you clearly. It's just doing, it's just,
at all.
it's just doing on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off. The only part I add very well is the part where you said you did not have much on you and you had to get number from your mommy's phone to organize people to get a band. That's the only part I had. All the other parts, it was just going on and off, on and off. I guess maybe it's network that is bad or something.
Oh my god.
Is your
Yeah, I guess it's the network,
is
sir.
the phone network? No problem. It's all right. It's all right. But I guess maybe we'll do the practice another time. We'll practice with you. When is your
Okay,
own
sir.
exam? Ayo.
I'm planning towards next year, March.
Okay, so you still have time. All right. Who is doing exam before next week Saturday? Anybody? Who is doing exam between now and Saturday? Anybody? Is there anybody doing exam between now and Saturday? Uchechi, when is your own exam? I think Uchechi is doing exam this December now. Uchechi, let me hear your voice. Uchechi, are you there? Wow, I think Dorothy too is doing exam this December. Uchechi, when is your exam? I can't hear. I can't hear. Maybe she's not online. All right. So what we'll do is this. We'll continue on. I think on Saturday we'll do another round of practice like this, so that you guys can get more conversant with speaking. So we'll do more part two. On Saturday, I'll do more part three. I'll do both part two and part three with you guys. Saturday is going to be we're going to start with a new set of students. So I'll do listening and speaking on Saturday. So, ladies and gentlemen, get ready to participate fully on Saturday. So thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to wrap it up on that note tonight. Enjoy the rest of your evening.